Today, we are going on an Uber boat to Greenwich, a town just east of the heart of London, England. Here we will explore the Cutty Sark, the Royal Observatory, where we learn about timekeeping, then the Queen's House, and back in town we stroll down Oxford Street, visit Selfridges, and find the Italian garden in Hyde Park. This honeymoon episode is number 2 of 5 in London, filmed in September of 2024. Here are the adventures of Ron and Anneke. Day 2 in London. We start with a delicious breakfast just a couple tiny blocks away from our hotel. Then it's off in the tube to Westminster Station. Day 2. That's Big Ben behind us. Just got off a couple tube stops. We're going to head on a boat to Greenwich today. It's going to rain a little later though, so we're planning it accordingly.
The Eye is there, right behind us. London Eye.
You can see us exploring the London Eye and closer to Parliament Square in the Day 1 episode. See on a boat. You can use your Oyster card, like a Metro card, to take the Uber boat by Thames Clippers from Westminster to Greenwich. Walking down to the pier, get on a boat. Or you can purchase a round-trip ticket from the dock itself. It will cost you around £10 to £15 per person. Finding our spot on the front of the boat, we sit back and enjoy the views of London's waterfronts as we cruise eastward to Greenwich. And off we go! First to see from the water are the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben. And on the opposite side of the Thames River is the London Eye, the world's largest cantilevered observation wheel offering wonderful views of London during its 30-minute rotation. At the end of this walking bridge, housed in a converted bankside power station, is the Tate Modern Museum. Then this rounded dark wood and white structure is Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, a replica of the original with daily tours and a summer session of Shakespeare plays as Elizabethan audiences would have seen them. This dome is St. Paul's Cathedral, a bit inland, built by Sir Christopher Wren after the Great Fire of London in 1666. The Shard is the tallest building in the United Kingdom as of 2024, with 72 habitable floors. Coming up is the Tower of London and Tower Bridge. The Tower Bridge is an excellent example of Victorian engineering at its best. It is often confused for the London Bridge that is, quote, falling down, but that nursery rhyme bridge is one bridge west. In the next episode, we will explore the Tower of London in its 1,000 years of history. This says, entry to the Traitor's Gate. Here you can see where the medieval royalty lived and were executed, and marvel at the impressive collection of crown jewels. We have a date with you tomorrow, Tower of London and Tower Bridge. I just love seeing the juxtaposition of old boats next to modern buildings. Makes me feel like I'm experiencing Europe properly. Stopping at other docks along the way, we picked up many more people off to Greenwich. As we approach our destination's pier, we get our first glimpse of the Maritime Greenwich Museum.
You'll be in the back of the boat. The back of the boat will Greenwich.
This famous big boat is the Cutty Sark. You heard the man. Back of the boat for Greenwich. From the pier, we will pass the Cutty Sark Museum, meander through the town, and climb up through Greenwich Park to the Royal Observatory Museum. The Cutty Sark was the fastest ship of its time, built in Scotland in 1869. A clipper is a sailing vessel designed for speed. These fast ships were ideally suited to low-volume, high-profit goods such as tea, opium, spices, people, and mail. This particular ship was a tea clipper and has now been preserved on a dry dock meters above the water and converted into a museum experience. Feeling a little peckish, we found the Paul Rhodes Market for a snack. We just went to the Paul Rhodes Bakery. I got my leek and cheese pastry. Ron got a
tomato, oregano, and garlic pastry.
on
the dough.
Ready to enjoy them on the green. Here we find ourselves at another one of the 8 royal parks. This is Greenwich Park. It has welcomed generations of visitors from ancient Romans to Tudor monarchs and Victorian sailors. I wonder if they enjoyed a garlic tomato pastry, or a leek and cheese one, getting some sustenance for the hike up this steep grade. Hiking today.
Going a long hike today, all the way up to the observatory.
Founded by King Charles II in 1675, and sitting in the middle of the park is the world-famous Royal Observatory. If you have ever heard of Greenwich Mean Time, or GMT, that credit goes to this location entirely. The main statue here is General James Wolfe, a gift from the Canadian people commemorating British dominance in North America. At the bottom of the hill is the present-day National Maritime Museum. However, it began as the Greenwich Palace. Side note, this is the O2 Arena. Greenwich Palace was the birthplace of both Henry VIII and his daughters, Mary I and Elizabeth I. The Tudors used the house here on the top of the hill as a hunting lodge. Inside the museum, we ascend to the main attraction, the Octagon Room, the original observation room. The observatory would first determine the time by stellar observations. The world takes its standard time from this Royal Observatory. Getting into the heart of the museum, check out this guy looking at his watch. We take for granted that time is a standard. However, it was only an invention due to a British contest. How to keep accurate track of time on a boat. Pendulum clocks, called regulators, in the 1700s were the most accurate. However, if disturbed, they could not be used to find longitude at sea. As you can see here, when a boat rocks, the clock's pendulum no longer swings to a steady beat. In 1714, many inventions emerged as the British government offered £20,000, over £1 million in today's money, to anyone who could find a practical and useful method for determining longitude at sea to the accuracy of half a degree. Here is a portrait of John Harrison, the winner and inventor of the maritime chronometer, paving the way and revolutionizing maritime navigation. Next in the museum are the rooms where astronomers drew their lines of 0 degrees longitude, each a few steps to the east. Edmund Halley, the second Astronomer Royal, drew the line in room 14, James Bradley in room 15, and George Bedell Airy, the seventh Astronomer Royal, drew it in room 16, which lasted over 100 years to 1954. Just as the equator separates the northern and southern hemispheres at 0 degrees, the construct of the prime meridian line separates eastern and western hemispheres. It is marked by a brass strip in the observatory's courtyard and later changed to stainless steel once the location changed into a museum in 1960. We're at the prime meridian line. This is where it's 0 degrees. Nowadays, if you look on your phone as I did, it doesn't show directly 000. Due to the Earth's irregular shape, the satellite meridian is about 100 meters to the east of the prime meridian. With my new technology still reading at 5 seconds west, I look up and see the old technology where it started. The red ball on top of the octagon room would drop at exactly 1 p.m., being the first public time signal used by navigators of ships. During promotions for the film Wicked, some of the cast came to Greenwich as the main character is the Green Witch. They commemoratively lit the powerful green laser shining north across the London night sky, coming from the tiny box at the top there since December '99. After a hike down the hill, we pass the National Maritime Museum and enter the Queen's House. This building is the first consciously classical-styled building in the country, and this is what it looks like from the front without the tent of festivities. After the demolition of Greenwich Palace, the Queen's House was commissioned by Queen Anne of Denmark and built between 1616 and 1635. This center Great Hall, with a black and white floor, was designed as a perfect cube. The architect, Inigo Jones, had just returned after a 3-year tour in Italy of influence in Roman, Renaissance, and Palladian architecture. This is the Queen's House, full of art that has residency here. The house is now primarily used to display the museum's substantial collection of marine paintings and portraits of the 16 to 1900s, and for other public and private events. Coming up is the Queen's Presence Chamber, where courtiers could meet with the Queen. The opulent ceiling dates from the earliest years of the house when it was Queen Henrietta Maria's bedchamber. The bed was positioned opposite the fireplace under the royal coat of arms on the ceiling. Here hangs the Armada portrait of Queen Elizabeth I, who ruled for the second half of the 1500s. This iconic portrait commemorates the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588. Queen Elizabeth I surrounded herself with powerful noblemen, statesmen, and adventurers. Portraits played an important role in court life. Copied and exchanged as gifts, these paintings project fortune, status, and a vision of the English global power. Inigo Jones's unique architecture features, besides the Great Hall cube, this tulip staircase, a wrought iron staircase that holds itself up by gravity, comprised of iron tulips. Time for some lunch at the very busy Goddard's of Greenwich, a restaurant back at the main road. A family-run business since 1890. Traditionally, the pie is filled with a minced meat, very likely burnt on top. The mash is potatoes, and the sauce tastes of a light parsley. However, we chose the gravy.
We're having our meat pies. In this cute little restaurant.
By Greenwich University.
Right across from.
Right across from Greenwich University.
It's called Traditional Pie and Mash.
And then we're off to Greenwich Market. Greenwich Market is an 1800s market selling unique gifts and knickknacks. Most days it sells arts and crafts, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the stalls have antiques and collectibles.
Mercado.
Mercado.
We are having a spot of espresso, walking past the university, and then back to the Uber boat Thames Clipper.
We're going back. We've been to the observatory. This is the Cutty Sark, the big ship you find when you get off at the Greenwich Pier. Ron says that it's also a alcohol whiskey brand. I had no idea. Cutty Sark, named after the ship.
I did some research, and yes, Cutty Sark is a Scotch whiskey, and an image of the boat appears on the label. As we wait for our boat at the pier, I can see across the water is the town of Poplar. If you watch the heartwarming show, Call the Midwife, on Netflix, that's where it is set in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Off we go, heading back to the heart of London on this dreary day. Fun fact, after watching the movie Now You See Me 2, also on Netflix, it filmed in many locations we just visited and showed you around Greenwich. And both times I've come to Greenwich, there have been movie trucks parked somewhere for filming. Thanks to Google Lens, I now know this is the Thames sailing barge named Gladys, built in 1901, one of approximately 2,000 such vessels that transported cargo on the River Thames. She underwent a 4-year restoration, completing in 2022. Hello again, Tower Bridge. Built in 1886, The Tower Bridge connects the East End of London, with about 40,000 automobile crossings every day. The bridge is much newer than the Tower of London, the castle that sits on the north side of the Thames. The Tower of London's history is nearly 1,000 years old. Built in the 1070s by William the Conqueror, fresh from his victory and coronation, but nervous of rebellion, William began to build this massive stone fortress to defend and proclaim his royal power. It took around 20 years to build. If you're liking this video, please hit the subscribe and like button as we are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And if you know something I don't know, I love it when people correct me or tell me about their experience in the comments. Now that we are back in town, we disembark at Embankment in Westminster and take the tube up to Oxford Circus. Next stop, Oxford Street in the West End of London. Check out all these red double-decker buses. We pop out of Oxford Circus tube stop in Europe's busiest shopping street. It has around 300 shops and welcomes more than 200 million visitors per year.
We're on Oxford Street. We're about to go to Selfridges. Here's a Disney. Just past a Vodafone O2. It's got every store you could ever imagine, every brand. Booths right behind us.
Oxford Street has a sordid past, but development on the present-day Oxford Street began in the 1700s after many surrounding fields were purchased by the Earl of Oxford.
Next stop, we're to Selfridges.
What would now be called department stores began to appear in the 1870s. Founded in 1909, Harry Gordon Selfridge tried to make shopping a fun adventure and a form of leisure instead of a chore. Selfridges windows have become synonymous with the brand, transforming the department store into a social and cultural landmark. Harry Gordon Selfridge likened the act of shopping to the act of attending the theater, a museum, or a big event, and drawing large crowds by innovative marketing techniques. It was a revolutionary idea to place merchandise on display so customers could examine it, and he moved the highly profitable perfume counter front and center on the ground floor. We head to the food hall like we did at Harrods. Hello again, Paddington Bear. I'm sure your biscuits are delicious. There are 4 seasons of a series called Mr. Selfridge on the PBS website or Amazon Prime. We continue west to just about the end of Oxford Street's commercial area. Recapping, we walked from Oxford Circus along to Selfridges, past M&S for Marks & Spencer, and are now coming into Hyde Park.
A little stop. We've walked from Oxford Circus. We've got to kind of the corner of Marble Arch, and we're going to walk back the north end of Hyde Park to our hotel. Well, he enjoys a, what is that sandwich?
Iberico ham. Iberico ham.
From the Selfridges food hall.
We stumble upon the Italian gardens of Hyde Park.
We're still doing our little walk back through Kensington Gardens to our hotel, and then we found this nice little pond that we're about to show you. We had to do a walkabout.
So many things around this hotel that we're staying in and I didn't know. It's crazy.
Although it is in Hyde Park, the gardens are technically in Kensington Gardens, known for their more private and formal character. This formal, ornamental water garden features 4 main pools surrounded by statues and ornate urns. On the left here is a statue of Edward Jenner, the pioneer of the very original vaccine, which was for smallpox. His discovery paved the way for modern immunology. We reached the north end of the Serpentine Lake. In 2022, the gardens were restored to their original splendor. A new cleaner water system and water quality improvements removed 13 tons of silt from the basins. The fountains are now fed fresh water from a borehole. Native water lilies, yellow flag iris, flowering rush, and purple loosestrife are rooted in cages just below the water, and new walkway ramps help ducks get in and out of the water. The Italian gardens were reportedly a gift from Prince Albert to Queen Victoria. Apparently, both of their initials are on the pump house here. This building once contained a steam engine which operated the fountains. Here is the 1935 Rolls-Royce Phantom, converted into an ice cream truck. We make it back to our hotel in Bayswater, have a Chinese dinner, and find this funny "Don't Slip" sign. Tomorrow, we visit the Tower of London,
God save the king!
the Tower Bridge, and Borough Market.
Borough Market.
Very cool spot. Amazing spot.
See you later, world neighbor.
Having some lunch. Gonna find some lunch rather.